Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Kristen, and today we have Matthew Lightner. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us today. We're here to talk about your entrepreneurial journey. So I just want to go ahead and get started with, what was your first journey? What was the start of that like?
Well, I started out in the military. I got retired and came home, and before I even got bearings to do a normal job, I started over at Lancaster Prison. Mm-hmm. Worked there until I decided to go to welding college.
Okay.
And from there, I did some welding work. I worked for a company that does a lot of fabrication. I got into the skill of that. There was a lot of other hands-on that I learned, because fabrication and welding, there's a lot more to it than just, putting it together. Then I went and decided I needed to go back to law enforcement. So I applied at the Levy County Sheriff's. I became a detention deputy.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
I did that and really had a good time. But when my family started to grow, I had a wife, 3 kids now, and I had been doing high-risk jobs since I was 18. Yeah. And now I've done it for well over 20 years. And it had taken a toll on my body and, my mind and everything. And, I had a health scare. And my wife said, you know what, just take some time off, relax. And that worked about as well for me as a cat swimming. Yeah. I was just, I can't sit still. I need to do something. And so I said, I need to do something. I said, let me just start a little business, no big deal. And I started just mowing lawns. Mm-hmm. I knew a couple of people that needed the service done. So I said, this is nice and all, but I definitely want more. Yeah. And she says, well, what are you talking about? I said, well, my health is getting a lot better. I'm taking better care of myself. I'm getting more involved with the kids because I'm not working overnight shifts and things like that. So I said, I want to make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So we got our LLC. We got our all of our credentials, all of our paperwork, set up an office at home. Just a little tiny closet, but I mean, I got a desk in there, and
office is an office.
I feel like I'm doing something, And well, from there, it just kind of grew all summer. We got into doing some tree work, some pressure washing, and some soft washing. I learned so much about the differences in all of those fields, because I have a habit of, if someone says, "Can you do something?" Well, if I can't now currently, I'll be doing it by tomorrow.
How to do it, yep. So
I'll go home and I will study. And I will learn. I was like, wait, what's the difference? If I'm going to pressure wash this, or if I'm going to mow that, how can I make it better than, the competition? Mm-hmm. Because I'm not against anybody out there, but if you're going to do it,
might as well
go,
be the best
go and try to be the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everything was really rolling along. We were getting a lot of work. We were getting a lot of new clients. And then fall. It's a seasonal thing. And I sat down with my wife. I said, I think we need to be prepared. Mm-hmm. So we sat down and we made a list of all the things that we've done in the past, things that we've, learned under someone else, or that we've done and perfected in our own little small corner of it. And we made a list, and I said, oh, great. Well, we can both paint. Mm-hmm. We're both good at that. This stuff is going to die off. So I'm good at minor demo and construction and things like that. I said, but I don't want to do just one thing. And she says, what do you mean? I said, well, I want to go in and do a lot of things. So we made up some business cards, put out some flyers, and we got lucky. We had a person who has their own business, and inside of their business, they have a lot of rental properties. Mm-hmm. And he invited me out to just look at a paint job and see if I could fix it, which, no big deal,
Yeah.
I can handle that. And we did it really well, to where he called us for the next one. And he called me up and he said, now listen, this place is a mess. He says, we're one step away from condemning the whole house.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, let me take a look at it and we'll see what we can do. And from there, we pretty much demoed half of the inside. They called in a drywaller guy, because I can do minor stuff, but it's not what I was. Yeah. I didn't have the tool set for it. Yeah. And I didn't have a crew enough to do it. So I said, you know what? I know where to draw the line at the moment.
Absolutely.
If I don't have the right equipment and everything, then I'm going the wrong way.
Yeah.
So he called in a drywaller, and they came in and they did some work and everything. We did the demo of all the cabinets, all the plumbing, everything else. Mm-hmm. And then we came back in through and painted the whole house on the inside. Well, they came back in, they loved it. So they put in all new cabinets and everything. Then they looked at the outside. Hey, can you do anything? That's where I learned the difference between pressure wash and soft wash. I said, let me go home because I don't know this outside material well. I mean, I know it's stucco, but I need to know how to handle it.
Absolutely.
Went home, studied up on it, bought new equipment, painted the outside of the house after we're done the soft wash. It looks brand new.
Wow.
They were able to rent it out for more than they were asking for the first time, and it looks like a brand new piece of property.
And that was like your first time doing that as well?
So I started, getting into the entrepreneurial spirit, I guess you will.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what, if I can do that, I can find other things. We can get bigger.
Absolutely.
So my wife said, what are you going to do? So I made some cold calls based off of the Gainesville business page. And I got a hold of some people that are in charge of some of Alachua County's rental properties. And we do some jobs for them on occasion. So we've started expanding in ways with, the rental properties and, apartments and things like that is the next direction I want to take.
Yeah.
Can I kind of get it bigger? And she's like, well, what are you going to do with your lawn care side? I said, nothing. I'm going to keep it where it's at.
Yeah.
I said, we're just going to have to manage it. So my wife's job is to manage me. She always worries that I'm going to go too far. She says, you got to calm down. I said, I can't. I wake up at 6 a.m. every day on the dot without an alarm, ready to go. I have to have little wins just to get me motivated. I'm waiting on my email to load while I'm doing dishes and cooking breakfast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm getting kids ready for school and getting them ready out the door while I'm sending out emails and getting ready for the day. And by the time they get dropped off, I'm out the door ready on the job.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. I'm ready to go. And it makes it a little difficult, time-wise, but I have found the best way to make sure I'm not missing any of my kids' stuff is to be involved in it. So I assistant coach my daughter's softball team. And whenever my son has a martial arts tournament, I shut down operation for the weekend. We all go.
Wow.
The only times that doesn't work is, honestly, when my daughter's softball tournament happens to be on the same weekend.
Yep.
And we have to literally, I'm at the ball field, in between, plays, and I'm looking down and she's telling me his stats and we're doing the same thing. But it has to be done,
Absolutely. I think you mentioning how important small wins are is very important, especially when it's your first time starting a business and you kind of see that growth. I think a lot of business owners have just like this big goal and they kind of lose track of the small wins they've had. And that really does keep you going. So speaking of wins, what are some lessons that you've learned like early on when starting? What are some things that kind of smacked you and you're like, whoa, that
if
you
it
weren't
can go
prepared
wrong,
for?
it will.
Yeah.
And you have to decide right then and there, is this going to ruin my whole day? Or am I going to learn the lesson from it and prepare for it next time?
Yeah.
So in the beginning, it was, I'll be honest, in the beginning, I would get upset, like, I can't believe this broke in the middle of this job. What am I going to do? But the thing that never crosses my mind is, should I just toss it all in and go back to work for somebody else? It just never crosses my mind. It's always one of those, no, I'm going to learn the lesson from it. And the next time this happens, I'm going to be better prepared. Albeit, am I going to get backup equipment, or am I just going to learn how to dismantle this pressure washer on the spot, what tools I need, put it back together, fix it, and get back to work. So I have kind of put both of those together.
Yeah.
I'm working toward, having backup equipment for everything, while at the same time learning how to do maintenance on all of it.
Wow.
So it kind of keeps us where we don't have to stop, slow down, we don't have to change direction, we can just go.
Yeah. And I think mindset also, like you mentioned, plays a big part. Choosing to let it ruin your day or choosing to throw in the towel, it really means breaking or building a business, especially the business that you have. Earlier you said, take the risk and stay disciplined. What do those words mean to you in your day-to-day business life?
Well, I'll start with discipline. Realistically, it's, motivation, is there when everything's going good or you got a new idea, but discipline is staying consistent when it's hard. Discipline is when you don't feel like getting up, you do it anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or when you get home from work, you're tired, you're dirty, and you have to go into the office now and send out invoices and check the schedule for tomorrow and then deal with any equipment that broke today or any supplies that you need to do. Do I need to get up earlier in the morning to handle this? And then you have that reality check. Am I taking care of myself? So I carry my cup of water with me all day long. I make sure that I get at least a gallon in me, especially when we're working outside or in a place with no electric because, it's a whole demo and we're painting with no
Yeah.
power. So you have to stay disciplined because there's going to be times that you're just not as motivated today as you were yesterday. But if you don't have that discipline to continue to tell you, move forward, get up, go to work, make it happen, then the whole thing's going to fall apart because bad days happen.
Yeah.
But taking the risk part is not for everybody. I don't say that like anybody can't do this or everybody can't do this. They can. But there is a risk involved, and you're basically betting every chip you have. Your whole family's, existence right now is resided on your effort and you handling it. So in a sense, there's less risk if I go and work at somebody else's business because it's up. Their risk is what I'm dependent on.
Absolutely.
But then I could just leave that one and go to the next one when his risk falls through.
Yep.
My risk is what his is. I am taking the chance to say, I can do this, I can do it better, and I'm going to prove it.
Yeah.
And you have to get up and use that discipline every day to make sure that risk is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Currently, how big of a crew do you have?
Right now, my son, my wife.
Wow. So very family.
We've had some veterans that have come in for 1099 work on the side when they need help.
Yeah.
Especially when they need a break from their day-to-day grind.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of veterans that want to come work for me soon, and I cannot wait because they're hard workers. I know how they are, but they're dealing with some stuff at the VA, and I told them, you still have a job here. You handle your health.
Yeah.
You go take care of it, and when you're ready, you call me, and we'll get you employed.
And I think that's so powerful and important, especially for you also serving, helping veterans that need it. Because but a lot of veterans get kind of disposed of and they're not really taken care of. So to have an opportunity like that, it's very impactful to others.
Well, I think the thing that it's not that veterans can't work as hard or harder than civilians. We've been trained to do that. We know how to set pain aside and do everything else that we need to get the mission done. But we do it at such a different pace and at such a different scale that it comes across wrong in a lot of places.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of misunderstanding. But that's another reason this business being so chaotic, if you will, being all over the place with what needs to be done, is that on a day-to-day basis, military folks, we don't have the same job every day. We don't show up at the same time.
Yep.
We don't leave at the same time. We could be doing something on Monday that we're doing different on Tuesday, that we're doing different Wednesday.
Yeah.
And by Thursday, we're in the field for 2 weeks. And then we come back and, we're right back to, what are we doing today?
Yep.
So to have a business that does that, it's almost like a blessing.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
if today I'm power washing a house and tomorrow I'm doing lawn maintenance all day long, but then now here, I'm on a podcast. I never know what's going to happen, but you take the opportunity, you go.
Absolutely.
A lot of veterans know what it's like to just say, hey, you need somebody to do it? I got it.
Yeah.
So build a company that kind of nurtures that mentality.
Absolutely.
Give them a better place to work.
Absolutely. I think that plays also to you saying always be willing to learn and adapt as well. Seems like you literally took those words and built your company. And that's insane. A lot of people don't just start a business kind of just sprouts like that. A lot of people sit down, plan it for a long time, and you kind of were just like, here we go, and just branched off of that.
There's the risk.
Which is something that isn't very common, and I agree with the chaotic services. Very good name.
The name was actually my wife's idea. She said that's just like day-to-day life with you.
Very good name. Very good name.
So my wife actually came up with it. She said that's what it's like, being with you. It's very chaotic, but she goes, at the end of the day, I know you're going to do everything it takes to make it happen. So she goes, it's chaotic, but she manages me pretty well.
Good. I would hope. It's such a success that, y'all.
Well, we're trying. Success is one of those things. Like I said, I could make $1 million someday, but if I'm not at my son's tournament or there when my daughter needs me, or right now with my oldest just graduated this year, could not be more proud. My daughter's going into 9th grade. They all got AB honor roll.
Wow, go them.
Got to make sure that you're there for that because
absolutely,
they remember presence over presence.
Yep.
Time
goes by fast.
Right.
They blink, and then next thing you know, they're graduated and and gone.
And they're just as chaotic. I mean, it's great because they're all so busy doing
Yeah.
so much that sometimes it's like, how do I even afford to do this?
Yeah.
So I make them, it doesn't sound right, but I make their extracurriculars part of my regular bills. So that way I know that this is how much
Yeah.
I got to take care of.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, they learn a lot too. My 10-year-old, he's actually got his own welded project at the school that he goes to
Nice.
that he did in our shop. We that's, you know, something else that we were going to talk about in a little bit. But I taught him how to do the most basic of welding.
Yeah.
And something broke at the school, and he got all excited to bring it home. And
Yeah.
so we made a big presentation. He brought it to school, and it was great. The whole school got to see it.
Oh, that's
It's
incredible.
actually still a display over at his school.
That's awesome. I think that's also so important, as well as you involving them not just with family time, but also your work as well. And to see that you clearly love what you do and are hungry to learn more, that is something that, especially when they're younger, during those vital phases, is so important for them to see, because not every kid gets to see that. A lot of kids with parents who are passionate about something choose their passion over family.
Yeah.
So you having that incredible balance is just it's amazing.
My daughter's she's been learning how to paint and do construction site cleanup with my wife. I mean, obviously she's too young to actually work for us at the moment, but you know, we practice at our own house, making sure that, you know, we've got it figured out. You know, if we get a new tool, something like that, we use it at home first. So they're involved in that. You know, like even my oldest, he works for me full time now.
Wow.
Wanted to wait till high school was over before he went full time. I wanted to make sure that he was you know, going to get his diploma and be proud of himself. He should be. He worked really hard.
Yeah.
My daughter, she's one of the most intelligent people I've ever seen. So I'm extremely blessed, and that makes it easier for me to go do what I do.
Absolutely.
And it makes it that much more exciting when I get to race up to the softball field at the last second. I'm still in construction boots, and I'm filthy from the day, and I come running up to practice just to help out.
Yeah.
You know, I made it.
Yeah.
You know.
That's incredible. If you had to say, like, if you had to tell your younger self one thing about now, like if you could give yourself one piece of advice,
Just one.
Just one, what would that one thing be?
Honestly, start gathering tools while you're still working. Make a list of everything that you think you're going to need. Here's the list of everything that you're going to need. Stay ambitious, stay driven, stay on that path of learning every day.
Yeah.
But here's a list of all your tools, because you're going to need them.
Yeah, I bet. So you mentioned starting a second company.
Yes.
You want to share any details about that? I'm excited to hear.
I'm open to do that. As a matter of fact, we're in talks right now of possibly 2 or 3.
Oh, wow.
Only because as hard as it is to start one, and I'm not going to say it's easy. We have not had it easy. I've had nights where it's midnight and I'm still trying to deal with this job.
Yep.
But I have learned, based on the fact that everything has a fall season and everything has its lull period, that it's good to have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
So I did we'll just call it market research. And I found out that some of the most successful people don't have one huge business. They have many small ones.
Yes.
So in taking that mentality, what other skills do I have? What other tools are already available?
Yeah.
So at one point for my PTSD therapy, both from law enforcement and military, I started doing welding art. You know, it was one of the things suggested to me was to do art.
Yeah.
And I don't paint except for houses.
Yeah.
And I don't so much do, you know, clay or anything like that, but I know how to weld.
Yeah.
So I started getting things like rebar and horseshoes, and it went from just making art to, hey, you know what? I can make a fishing rod holder. You know, I can take all this pile of scrap and turn it into a pigeon.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we've got little things around the shop that my youngest and I, we just decided we're going to build something today because there's nothing happening.
Yeah.
You know, it's not work at that point. It's just bonding.
Yeah, fun.
And we've got little projects everywhere that we've made out of, you know, old rusty, you know, tools and things that you can't fix anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I can do that in the evening or on lull periods or downtime holidays.
Yeah.
You know, we learned how to make Christmas trees and reindeer and Santa
cool.
Claus and even the Grinch.
Oh, wow.
And it came out really cool. And I was like, well, we can sell those online.
Yeah.
You know, we can start up the little weld shop and put them out there. And I haven't figured out which site we're going to use yet, but we're going to start an online store where we build the things at home. And you can even call us and say, hey, I'd like a custom job. I want to use rebar to build this. Can you do it? And I'm going to be excited because that's just a whole new project.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was like, you know, that is more seasonal in the sense of what holiday is it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Father's Day's coming up. You know, if he's a working man, get him set a boot rack or a fishing rod holder that actually will hold his drink down in the sand when he's out fishing on his day off. You know, I'm not sure how far we're going to go with that yet. It's just the idea that's come up. And I said, we have all the tools.
Yeah.
This is a no-brainer right here. This is one we don't have to invest in immediately.
Absolutely. And it's something that you enjoy as well, also important.
Well, and as my youngest grows up and needs his first job, he can do it from home.
Exactly.
He's learning to do it until he's old enough to put his hands on it.
I think it's very important to mention you're not just creating a business for you, you're creating generational businesses for your family down the line as well.
I've looked at it too. My oldest is going into the Army. Could not be more proud or nervous at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how to feel about it, but he's gung-ho. I told him he could stay here and work the business all he wanted to, but he says, Dad, I need to make my own first.
Yeah.
And he's got an idea for a business when he gets back that he wants to work with. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, you go, you make your own, and then when you come home, I'll be ready for you.
Yeah.
So he's starting to get that entrepreneurial spirit young, and I think it's great.
Yes,
he's going to go off and serve, and then he's going to come back, and he's got an idea, but I'll let him come into the podcast in a couple of years when he's ready to go and say, I've started one.
Yeah, and I think it's to be that young as well and already kind of have like, all right, this is what I'm thinking for my plan. That's great. You could ask me my 10-year plan, and I'm just going to stare and say nothing because I got nothing. I'm just cruising right now. But so that plan is great, and to have already a passion about that so young, about starting your own business. And
they all three have passion and such a bright future that
yeah,
I just want to make sure that they're taken care of to get there.
Absolutely.
My daughter, I've got her college paid for, but she is so smart and she's so good at sports that I'm not going to have to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have it as a backup if she wants to keep going and needs that help, or I'm just going to use that money to make sure that she's got a nice apartment or something.
Yeah.
Because as athletic and smart and personable as she is, she's going to get a scholarship.
Yeah.
She's already ready to take college classes in 9th grade.
Good for her.
So I'm not too worried about that, except for the fact that, you know, like I said, she takes on a lot too.
Yeah.
It's just, she's in, you know, all these academies already, and she's in the beta club and everything else. And it's just like, is it too much? Is it too much? No. She's doing exactly what the rest of this family does. Yeah. She's just making her own way. And we just need to make sure that she's got full support, period.
I love that it's not just a you or your wife thing. It's a whole family, thing. And I know your kids have just watching you go through this has also lit their fire for their passion as well. I mean, I think that's just so incredible that y'all are a unit. Y'all are a whole family. It's incredible. So you said with the welding, the art, do you have anything else that you're thinking of starting as well? I know you mentioned maybe another one. Do you want to talk about any other ideas that you were thinking of?
Yeah, we had dabbled with the idea of splitting away some of the cleaning services from my company and starting a generalized cleaning for both residential and commercial. Yeah. Because my wife's got a big background in it already. She's done it down in Tampa.
Okay.
And she has to manage us who are going 24 hours a day. She manages to do that while keeping a clean house and healthy food on the table. Yeah, she's a star. You know what I mean? So that's what keeps the rest of us going.
Absolutely.
She's got the hardest job of all, is managing all the chaos we bring. But I thought, you know, she's got all this skill. We've got all the knowledge. I can do a little bit of the funding to make sure she's got all the tools, and then we can hire someone. She can train them to do it the way she expects, because she does it well. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So we were looking at just branching that off and letting her have her own company to run.
Yeah.
And that way she's got something too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she
Absolutely.
deserves it after putting up with all of us. But that's another place where, you know, like my daughter, she's amazing at it also.
Yeah.
She's one of the only ones in the house that will set aside a day to deep clean her own room.
Oh, it's so relaxing too. I bet
she's
it's
great at
very relaxing.
So I was like, you know, hey, high school, you're going to have a job. What better than, you know, working for the family business?
Yeah.
So she's interested in starting hers. So we're gonna work that out in time.
Yeah, and in talking about branching out and expanding and hiring people, is that something that you hope for in the future, to get to a place where you need to hire help and more crew members?
I'm hoping to have our own warehouse.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to have oversight of all of the businesses.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to bring like even guys right out of college that don't find a welding job right away.
Yeah.
That I can say, hey, this is the blueprint on how we build all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a booklet on how everything goes. You know, let's see what you got. Let's get it done. And let's get these things shipped out, and then just walk over to the other side of my warehouse and make sure my lawn care crews are good, my pressure washing crews are good, my paint trucks are ready to go.
Yeah.
I may be just operating out of a shed at the moment, but my goals are warehouses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crews, you know, a fleet of trucks with their own trailers ready to go, and employing people that don't have any marketable skills yet, and teaching them how to do it.
And I love that you want to hire those to teach them, and not just, no, I don't want to have to put the effort in to train anybody or teach anybody. I want someone that's already experienced. I
want a full training facility.
Yeah.
When I find this right facility, I want to have a patch of, you know, grass that I let grow, or a side of a building that I'm going to make sure it needs cleaned on a regular basis. And when you come in, training.
I love that.
Because I can't send somebody out on the job that just says they can do it. I need to know that you can, for one, but for two, you need to know that you can do it.
Yeah.
You need to be confident in your abilities, so that way you can go out there and do the best job, not just for my company, but at the end of the day, you know you did something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people are like, oh, it's just mowing grass. No, it's not. You can have somebody mow your grass, and you can have also somebody come out and take care of your lawn maintenance.
Absolutely.
You know, you can have someone slap up some paint on your house, or you can have someone come in with the right equipment, the right training, tape everything off properly, make sure everything's sanded down, cleaned, prepped, and painted properly. And then you need to know, if there's anything wrong, we're going to come back and fix it.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do.
Absolutely. The people putting effort in because effort goes a long way. People see effort, people see lazy. Yeah. And going in and with the mindset of, okay, I really want to take care, even if it's just a person's lawn. Well, it's not just a person's lawn. This is what people see when their family first come over. This is where their children play in the grass.
Well, it's like I told my son, I said, treat every job that we go to like we're going to your Nana's house, and we're going to take care of it. Yeah. I said, because if you treat every client like it's your Nana's place, it's always going to get done with a little bit more care.
Absolutely. And I think that's so valuable and a really important standard to set, especially so young. Yeah. And I think it's important that you want that standard for future crews to have as well. Yeah. Because like I said, it's easier to be lazy. It takes more to care, but caring is always, it always gets you farther.
It does.
What drives you to want more, and how do you define what more really is?
I'm just driven.
Yeah.
I'm on borderline of obsessed. I'm open about it. I mean, there's obsessions for a lot of things that are dangerous, but if you're obsessed with wanting more, and it doesn't mean money. Yeah. Money is not the goal. That is what makes the goal happen. Mm-hmm. That is the product of the hard work, the discipline, dedication. Yes. But the goal is to build something. Absolutely. Build a legacy. Mm-hmm. I want to build something that my kids always have a fallback. Yeah. Military isn't working out. You didn't think it was what you wanted. Mm-hmm. Let's make sure that you have a place to go. Yeah. You know, my daughter makes it all the way through college, and we know that you can make it all the way to get your master's or even your doctorate, and you can't get a job right away. Yeah. Well, guess what? I'll take care of you, and you're going to work. Mm-hmm. But you're gonna be taken care of. Yeah. But I want you to continue to pursue what that degree was for. Absolutely. You know, my youngest, he's 10, and he is just as chaotic as us. You know, he got both of my boys have ADHD. Neither one of them are medicated. That's where that AB honor roll and that constant work is, because I believe that we don't call it a disability at my house.
Yeah.
We say you have a super brain and you need to put it to work.
I love that.
And the minute you do, you become more productive and happier. The minute you slow down and sit still and don't worry about anything, that's when you're going to get crazy.
Yep. I think that mindset is just, that mindset's so important. And again, just the way that you've raised your kids, you and your wife have raised them in such a motivational and just positive way, and letting them be involved and watching through it. I think that's so amazing, because
I want to bring that aspect into my employees when they come in too. You know, I mean, yes, you work for me, but let's get you taken care of.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that you're understanding the job. Let's make sure that you're understanding what we're doing, because to you, we're just washing a house, but to somebody else, oh my God, it finally looks so good. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like walking into a new place.
Absolutely.
Oh, this room it's just a paint job. No, it's not. Mm-hmm. You're changing somebody's, way that they come home.
Yeah.
And it's not going to stop there. We're going to keep going and going and adapting and changing and adding more companies as needed.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which direction it goes in. I mean, this whole thing is resided around your house and your apartment.
Yeah.
But now we're starting the weld shop.
Yeah.
I would eventually like to take that weld shop and go from just selling art and, things like that, and actually put a weld shop for repairs.
I love that, yeah.
If we've got it under the same roof, then I've got all the materials to do it, and I've got the skill set. And now, like I said, kids coming out of welding college that are not trying to go over the road, or that can't get an immediate job at one of the local shops, now you got a place that you can just keep working until you do something of your own.
Absolutely.
If we could eventually put together a mobile welding truck, I would absolutely love that.
Oh, that would be cool.
Because then it's a whole nother direction. It has nothing to do with your house anymore. Now we're taking care of farms or anything like that, something that we need to go to.
Yeah.
There's actually no limit to what I'm willing to do, but it has to be something I'm passionate about.
I think that is the driving factor right there about passion. At the end of the day, it really does all come down to, are you passionate about it? Do you love it? Do you love waking up in the morning?
I'm so passionate about it. I've got this little guy everywhere. I've got a little plushie that sits in my chair at night and we hang out.
I love that. All right, final question here. Probably not the most important, but most important to those young viewers out there. If you had to give them one piece of advice, if they're sitting at home, have no idea but of what they want to do, they just have ideas through their head, what advice would you give them?
Write those ideas down and find out which one that you like, which one you can do, and which one you're willing to put all that effort into.
Yeah.
And then make a plan. And if you don't have a plan, that's okay. It can work out.
Yeah.
Look at, my plan wasn't a plan. I went and mowed a lawn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I got motivated.
Exactly.
I looked back and I saw I did something and I went, yeah, I like that feeling.
Yeah.
So find something that gives you that feeling of accomplishment, and that you can either have passion about or that you can find your passion in.
I love that.
Take the risk and do it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you're not happy with what you're doing, you're just not happy.
Yeah.
You have the right to be happy with your work.
Absolutely.
And you have the right to be happy in your own life, but it's not going to happen because somebody showed up and gave you happiness.
Yeah.
So take the risk. If you need to make a plan because you're a planner, write down everything, line it all up, figure it all out, start acquiring the tools, take a little business class here and there, take a finance class here and there to make sure that you know what you're doing. Set it up your way.
Yeah.
Don't do my way. Do it your way, but do it.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's very motivational, and I like that you gave a plan. Like, write it down, do this. That's helpful. A lot of people
I still do it now.
Yeah.
I do it a lot more than I did in the beginning. In the beginning, it was, got new blades and got some gas. I know where the address is. We're good to go.
Yep.
That was all the plan I needed.
Yeah.
And then now I get up in the morning. I've got a couple of big gyro race boards, and I'll draw a timeline. I'll figure out what tools need to be done.
Yep.
I'll take care of all that. Because even if you don't start with a plan, eventually a plan will come to fruition.
Absolutely.
Especially if you want it to keep going.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, I so appreciate you coming on the podcast today to tell your story and how you've built this business and your future businesses. So I just appreciate that and everything.
This has been great. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course. Well, to you watchers out there, I will see you guys next Friday. Thank you for joining me. Y'all have a great day.